Hello everybody, Raven Knight here, and welcome back to another episode of How to Build. This is the series where I take you through all of my created For Honor characters and teach you how you can make them yourself so that you can play them in-game. I do this with campaign characters, my own created characters and OCs that I make for Legends videos, and everything else in between. Really love doing this series, guys, and today we're going to be talking about my brand new Legend here that just dropped, Helena, my Raider character. I've been asked for a while to make a Raider Legend character, and little did y'all know I already had one. I just hadn't completed it yet. Because quite often what happens is when I create these characters, I have a good concept for the character, but I don't always know how I want to follow it through, like what I want it to be about. Like, I had an idea for a female raider who is an absolute barbarian, like an absolute muscle mama of a character, but that's just a concept. That's not a story. Anyone can come up with a concept. That's where you get like images and stuff. You can get an image of something and go, wow, that's awesome. But what's the story around that image? If you showed a picture of two dragons fighting in the sky, that's a cool concept. What's the story around it? What brought those two dragons together? What are they fighting for? How does it conclude? That's a story. So I had a concept for Helena. I just didn't have a story. And after some thinking about it and after really planning it out, I finally came up with something. And I hope you guys enjoyed The Legend. If you haven't watched it yet, go check it out. But I'm rambling at this point. Let's take the time to talk about how you can build Helena yourself. Let's get started. So, to start things off with the armor, you want the Stay Noon helm. The Stay Noon helm. I like this helm because of the helms, it looks kind of natural. I like the little tattoo lines it has under the eyes and on the chin just beneath the lip. I think that looks really, really nice. I don't know why. I just feel like that fits. And plus, it's a little better than some of these others where if you take a look at some of these other helms, I don't know, the way they cover most of the face, I'm not a big fan of that in terms of what I wanted for her. I wanted her to have a little bit more facial expression because keep in mind, this is a character who doesn't want to just be seen as a beast. She doesn't want to just be seen as a monster. So she feels like if she shows some of her face, maybe that will convince people that there is a human behind it. So I thought this one, you could see more of the face, and I thought that would work a lot better. So yeah, I go with the Stay Noon helm. Then the Stay Noon chest and the Stay Noon arms. I know it doesn't seem all that fancy. Actually, you can trade out the Stay Noon arms if you want for something a little bit different. I have also run her with the Domer arms. I also like the Domer set. I don't know why. People always say that they don't like spikes on certain characters. It depends on the kind of spikes for me. Like these spikes right here don't seem too bad to me. They aren't too pronounced. They aren't too big. They aren't sticking out like a foot away from her shoulder. So these work just as well. But honestly, the Stay Noon arms works just as well. I think that it's all fine. So get yourself a Stay Noon set. You will be golden. Okay? All right. Now for the weapon, I use the Yggdrasil head, Yggdrasil shaft, and Yggdrasil pommel. I chose this one for a couple reasons. The first being that this is one of the axe heads that I really like because it has a back to it. With a lot of these axe heads, if you take a look at some of them, like this one, for example, there's no back to the axe head. Or this one, no real back to it. I, for one, like the back for balancing purposes and for the fact that, I know you can't do this in game, but you could use that to maybe turn the axe around and hit someone with the back of the axe, and I like that. Like, look at this one, kind of the same thing. You got a pike at the end of it that you could use as a reversal. It's just not as big as I would like. This one's a little better, but I just love the design of this one. I think it works very, very well. I love the pattern, the intricacy on the blade itself. I just think it looks really good. So I went with Yggdrasil because I think this is just such a very solid looking axe style. It just really fits. And when we go into the color scheme for Helena, you'll see how the color scheme actually kind of fits alongside it, but we'll get to that. Okay, so to review, Stay Noon helm, Stay Noon chest, Stay Noon arms, Yggdrasil head, Yggdrasil shaft, Yggdrasil pommel. Okay? All right, let's move on. Now for traits. Obviously, since Helena is a girl, you're going to want to go with alternate 2, but this is how it would look if it was a guy. I find this very interesting because take a look at this. If it's a female, the helm is brown. You notice how? Look at that. Look at the hair. For a female, the hair is brown. But if it's a man, the hair is blonde. Isn't that interesting? That is odd, isn't it? I've always found that a little bit interesting that the hair color will change depending on the gender. Does that happen with any other character? I don't know. But that to me is very surprising. But I mean, if you want to make a male Helena and call him, I don't know, Helgar, whatever. It doesn't sound as good. But regardless, I'd rather go with the female for this. For skin color, default is fine. You could also go with number 1, but I go with default. All right, now, ornament. I know, Vikings didn't wear horns historically. I am well aware of that. I know about that. I am a historian. I've studied it. I know. The reason I add the horns here is because shut up. Shut up. I like it. It looks cool. I like the way they point forward. It gives off that bestial image, okay? Yes, I know it's not historically accurate, but shut up. I enjoy it. It's nothing more complicated than that, okay? If you wanted to come at me and say, Raven, as a historian, you should make it look historically accurate, fine. Take it off. It's fine as is. It's not like it ruins it by taking it off. I just think it adds a little bit more to it as a beast, because that's the point. She is a beast. So I think it's a funny, cool idea. Okay? That's all. That's all there is to it. All right? All right. Now, for material, I went with the firewood material. It gives a dark reddish brown, which I think very much works for a very natural color style for this leather that she wears. You could go red or you could go dark brown and get kind of the same effect, but I find that the firewood adds a nice hue to it, and you'll see more about that as we go into it. Like, if you look at the different color styles you can get, honestly, you could even go black if you want. You could go bedrock or black, but I feel like firewood just works better, okay? Okay, so now for chest and back, I got the spider tattoo, which you get from an outfit at Reputation 10. So get your Raider up to Reputation 10 to get this one. For the symbol, I don't really like to use symbols for these, but you can use the Beast of Wyverndale if you want. I just prefer the spider tattoo. Now, what's funny is it says that it's set to the Beast of Wyverndale. If you remove that, it still keeps the tattoo. Isn't that something? All right, anyway, moving on. All right, so after that, the right shoulder. I use the Charging Drakkar, which you get from an outfit at Reputation 26. Charging Drakkar, no symbol. For the embossing, I use Franz, which you get at Reputation 23, level 20. I love the pattern combined with the embossing. It looks intricate. It looks like there's been a lot of wear and tear on it, and you've kind of covered it up with that embossing. It just looks very nice. I think that's a good look. For the standard, I use the Frozen Seafarers 2, which you get from Year 5, Season 4 Battle Pass. So look forward to that, guys. When we come right back around to these Battle Passes, you might get this again, so make sure you get that. So Frozen Seafarers 2 for the paint pattern, no symbol, but for the embossing, get the Runic Compass, which you get at Reputation 24, level 20. I think the Runic Compass looks really good. Now, if you don't have that, you can use the Celtic Weave 2, which is Reputation 8, level 20. A little easier to get, but you're going to want to aim for the Runic Compass. Okay? Okay. All right. For the left arm, I use the Ogre tattoo, which you get at Reputation 14. The Ogre tattoo. Believe it or not, I don't think this symbol looks anything like an ogre. It looks more like a chaos sigil from Warhammer, doesn't it? That's what that looks like to me. But maybe I'm just crazy, but that's how it looks to me. And then for the right arm, I actually didn't add anything, and I'll tell you why. Because if you add anything, it kind of covers up the already existing tattoo on the arm. If you look at her arm right now, you can see there's already an existing tattoo on it. And if I add anything, it just kind of covers that up, and it looks sloppy. So I don't add anything to that arm. I keep it as is. Now, finally, the part you've been waiting for, the color scheme. What colors do I use? I use Tempest Vitality, which you can get at Year 5, Season 3. I personally love this color scheme for her. I love the greenish blue, okay? I think that fits very, very well, because if you think about Norse mythology and Norse lore, the sea, the primordial sea, and, the heavens, the earth, they all come from this dark space, and there's a sea described. I felt like she kind of comes up from that, which is where Yggdrasil, the axe bit, ties in a little bit, because that came up from creation as well. So I thought that this would be a nice tie into that mythos. It doesn't tie into so much her own lore as much as it does just my own headcanon, my own play on the myth. But I just thought that was a neat idea. So I do use the Tempest Vitality. But honestly, the color here doesn't matter quite as much as others. You can kind of go with whatever color you want as long as the colors flow together. Like, I wouldn't use Apoptric Glow, for example. I wouldn't use this. It's a little too bright. But I could use the Father of Understanding. I could use Transit Umbra. Any of those would work fine, but I prefer Tempest Vitality. Okay? All right, now let's move on to abilities. So for her feats, I use Tireless, because she's a beast. She's a fighter. She's going to be going on for a while, right? I feel like she would just not wear out very easily, so she's going to have a long-lasting stamina. Next, I give her marked for death, because once this girl calls you out, once Helena calls you out of the crowd, you're done, you know? Like, that's when you just know, you're dead, you're done, you're gonna die, you know? Fury. Now, honestly, you could go Fury or Second Wind. Both kind of have the same reasoning for me. You know, once you activate your Second Wind or your Fury, that's when it gets real, that's when it gets serious, and you're going to start tearing apart a dude, right? And then finally, either Fire Flask or Slippery. I feel like either one would work. I stick with Fire Flask because I just think that's the superior fourth feat. But Slippery would work as well because, I mean, okay, look, you're a muscle mama. Unless they are a muscle daddy or muscle mama themselves, they're going to have a hard time getting a hold of you, right? Unless, of course, they are Bao. And you know exactly what I mean, right? Right? Okay. All right, so for executions, I use Skullcracker, Axe Uppercut, Cleaving Me Softly, and so Bullet. All unique Viking executions, if I'm being honest. I think that all look absolutely stellar, in my opinion. Now, the thing about each of these is, I want them all to show a fair degree of strength. So when I look at Skullcracker, Axe Uppercut, especially Axe Uppercut, look at the way that the body flies upward. Cleaving Me Softly, that just knock back and then jump into the strike. And then so Bullet, just whoop. I love that. I think it all works so well with what we're looking for this absolute strong woman. For emotes, I use Recognition and Flexing Handshake. I use these because, you know, the Flexing Handshake I think fits because, you know, you've got this woman who actually does want to be friends. She wants to make connections and relations, but she doesn't know how to approach people, so this would be a cool connection. And Recognition because she does have her own degree of honor. And if you're going with Bao Shen, if your friend is playing Bao Shen, get Kiss Exchange, because, of course. For combat, all of you, and Shove Off, because I just didn't bother to get any others. I mean, I guess if you really wanted to go there, I mean, you could get Yes You, you could get Roar, or you could get Throat Slasher. Any of these would work fine, but I just didn't spend the steel to get any of these, so do what you will with that. For signature, I use Raid on Me, not because of the character, but because this is Raider's best signature, Fight Me. The meme is just too good, I can't resist it. But fine, if you really wanted to do another one, you could get Woodcutter. Woodcutter's another pretty good one, I would say. You could also go with, where was it? Hold on. Let me set it to unique. There was another good one you could get. You could also, here we go, you could get Sweet Blade. I think Sweet Blade just looks really good there. All right, now last part is effects. I don't tend to use a lot of effects. I use Holda's Wrath for idle. But other than that, I don't use a whole lot. Yeah, as you can see, I don't use a whole lot here. I suppose you could use Holda's Wrath for some of these, but there is one that I don't mind. Hold on one second, let me pull it up. You could use either Thor's Strike or Cosmic Dance for the executions. I like Cosmic Dance personally, because with Cosmic Dance, it makes it seem like there's an ethereal world around her, and like I said, tying into the Norse deities, tying into Norse pantheon and mythology, right? That would be an interesting tie-in. Because one thing that I said in her lore is that some people believe that her strength and her power was a gift from the gods, and so you could tie that into what she is. But otherwise, I wouldn't sweat it. So that is how you build Helena, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed this. How many of you guys are going to build it yourselves? How many of you guys actually enjoyed her lore? Have you heard her legend yet? If you haven't yet, go give it a listen. Let me know what you think. And if you have listened to the legend, what do you think of how to build her? Do you think that everything fits? Let me know down in the comment section below with respect. And as always, I will see you in my next video. Take care.